Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening wherever you are in the world. My name is Stumble98, and in today's video, I'm going to feature Tails and Knuckles. If you don't know who I am a Project 06 speedrunner, which is a Sonic fan game made by developer Chaos and a whole bunch of other folks that help with beta testing, most notably Beats, the creator of the Radical Highway mod. If you haven't checked that out, I highly recommend checking it out. And in PO6, which I'll refer to it as, a lot of the characters have gotten updates to their movesets and stuff. I've already covered a lot of what Sonic and Shadow can do, so I figured that the Amigo characters should get their own little spotlight as well. Tails is quite the anomaly in Project 06, honestly. There's a lot of stuff that's going on with him. Chaos, in fact, added a couple moves that you can do, as well as updated some other stuff. So we're just gonna kind of go through each action and talk about it. I have an input reader on the bottom left, so you can see what buttons I'm pressing. If maybe the explanation isn't good enough for certain tricks, you can just look there as a visual guide as well. On with the video. So I am going to be using Chaos X's game manual to basically describe the actions as accurately as possible. You can find it in the folder you download Project 06 in, and the first one we are going to be featuring, of course, is Miles Tails per Hour. So obviously, one of Tails' first actions he can do, beyond jumping, of course, with pressing the A button, is you can fly. So as long as you hold the A button, you can fly, and as long as you have action gauge, which is that glowy bar in the bottom right, you're able to continually ascend. When you run out of meter, you just kind of fall back down, similarly to how he does in the classics, or in Sonic Adventures. He just falls down, and you can still control your movement quite a bit, but you do fall quite a bit quickly. Obviously, it's to not entirely abuse how much more distance you could gain with Tails flying. If you just want to get a little bit more out of Tails' flight without actually, holding the button, what you can do is a technique called feathering, and that's where you quickly let go and repress a button. So I'm going to jump, and I'm going to feather the button, and you can see I'm still gaining a good amount of height, but a teeny bit more horizontal distance. And especially in Project 06's speedrun, it's certainly a lot more useful to do that. Also, while you're flying with Tails, if you are not holding the button, but you still have action gauge, you do still fly and you use the meter less. So that's why when we feather it, we get a little bit more distance out of our action gauge, because the meter doesn't drain as quickly as when we're, just holding the A button. It looks like these enemies really want to get a fighting going on, so let's go ahead and show off another one of Tails' abilities, the dummy ring bombs. So if we just press the A button, Tails is going to throw this fake ring box here, just directly in front of him. It has its own arc and stuff, and it seems, something I actually didn't know, is it looks like it homes in on enemies. So if you're just slightly off, you are going to be able to home in a little bit. That way you don't have to be directly in front of the enemy in order to hit him like that. If you hold the X button, Tails goes ahead and charges up his dummy ring bomb, and it doesn't do any more damage, but it just allows for a little more precise aiming. It's not something that I use that often, as you can tell, as my little struggle to kind of hit this enemy here. It has a similar arc, honestly, to Minecraft's arrows, which is a little weird comparison to say in a Project 06 video, but for people who have played Minecraft, when you hold the bow back and you fire the arrow, it looks like the arc's a little bit the same, because the dummy ring bomb doesn't, just make a straight beeline toward the marker. That's more of just a guide about where it is, and it looks like maybe the more you hold it, the farther it goes, or it could just be the angle I'm throwing it. I honestly am not sure about that. If somebody knows in the comments, feel free to correct me. All right, so that's one of Tails' methods for dummy ring attack. Another way is if you're flying, you can press the X button and Tails will throw the dummy ring bomb in a set arc. Now, the thing is this is pretty, oh no, it's pretty limiting. We can only throw the dummy ring bomb in one direction. but you can press the X button pretty much as fast as possible, and Tails will just lay down a bunch of rings. And you can see that there are so many fake dummy rings here that it's actually lagging my game a bit. And these rings that are left over do in fact do damage, so you know, it's really good for groups of enemies, especially at the very beginning of the stage here, so that, you know, you can basically destroy an entire area of enemies, and you can continue to fly while you're using it too. So, you know, if I fly forward and just do that, great for score attacking and that kind of stuff. Well, that was perfect because I needed to reset those enemies anyway. So let me just fly back on over here. I am in Tails' Wave Ocean, by the way, if you were curious. So the next attack I want to talk about with Tails that was added by Chaos is the tail swipe. So the tail swipe works pretty much exactly how it does in Sonic Adventure. I can just go up to an enemy, press the B button, and it gives them a little swipe. It does have a little bit bigger of like a hitbox, or at least it's out longer. Like, it's not just one attack, as you can see that enemy had multiple health bars, but I still destroyed it in one press of the B button. That's because there's multiple frames where you can actually hit enemies. Another cool thing that Chaos added is that you can actually use this attack in the air. So basically, this is an alternative. If you're flying and you want to land on an enemy and give them a little bop on the head, you can go ahead and do that. This also completely cancels your flying animation. So if you want to, you know, end your flight a little bit early without tiring out, boom, there you go. You drop just a little bit faster than if you just let go of A. In addition, something I want to say about Tails' flights is you can engage the flight off of falling off of an object. So as long as Tails is in the air, he can activate his flight, just like that, which is very good. In addition, you can do it out of a tail swipe as well. So we can, you know, fly up a little bit, go halfway, use a tail swipe, and then start flying again, you know, if we have to, or we maybe missed our mark or something like that. Now, where things get really interesting with Tails is a sort of glitch. I would say this is more of an oversight than an outright glitch. So I'm going to get into a better spot in Wave Ocean, and I will meet you guys there to show you the bomb flip jump. Alrighty, I figured this lighthouse is as good of a place as any to kind of talk about the bomb flip jump. So, as you know, Tails has his X ability, which is to throw a dummy ring bomb. And we can use his B ability in the air, the tail swipe, to swipe down. Now, a little quirk about the tail swipe is that if you do it on an enemy, you bounce off as if you jumped right on the enemy, which is a little interesting. And the thing is we can infinitely throw these dummy ring bombs. Again, why I think this is an oversight versus being an outright glitch is because the dummy ring bomb actually has its own hitbox. Obviously, when it hits enemies, it needs to do damage, but it is also a hitbox that Tails can tail swipe off of. So as long as you have the right rhythm down, you can infinitely do this method where you just press X and then B and then X and then B and X and then B. The rhythm is fairly loose, so there's not like an exact thing like, oh, you know, like it's exactly 120 beats per minute. It's just kind of something you have to feel out. But the best way to activate it is you want to go ahead and tire yourself out with Tails. Then you throw a bomb first. Whoops. Yes, a little bit difficult. But I'll meet you guys back at the lighthouse. Gotta keep that in there. Alrighty, back at the lighthouse. Let's see if I can do this again. So we want to tire Tails out. This is the best way, easiest way to activate it. And if we press X and B at the right rhythm, you can look at the bottom left of your screen and see the input display just to see kind of, you know, what Tails is doing there, or what I'm pressing in order to get Tails to do this, is you can just kind of fly. In addition, you actually gain height while you're doing this, so it's kind of ridiculous. We actually use it in the speedrun to do a little skip to where we can actually skip some of the whale cutscene with Sonic. Now, the reason I say you want to do it when Tails is tired out, it's the easiest way to activate it, is just because Tails goes a certain speed that somehow happens to be the exact perfect speed in order to consistently do these bomb jumps. Now, when you run into invisible walls, it doesn't work because the dummy ring bomb explodes way too early and then you'll just fall. If you run into a regular wall, it doesn't work either because you have no dummy ring bomb to bounce off of. But if you are just straight up in the open air, I mean, you can do this for pretty much as long as you want to. You do have to take much wider turns than normal, like you just can't turn normally, or else Tails completely misses the dummy ring bomb when he does his tail swipe. But you can do some ridiculous stuff with this. I highly recommend checking out my Sonic any percent speed run. That's a former world record. You can actually see me use these bomb flips in action. And of course, I do want to note that this was found by P06 speedrunner Vertex. Oh my goodness, one thing that I completely had forgotten to mention with Tails' tail swipe is on the ground, Chaos added Tails' rhythm badge ability. So you can sit here and tail swipe as much as you want. It's awesome. All right, that is Tails. I did not expect to spend this long covering him, but I hope you guys enjoy this section, and I will see you in Aquatic Base with our boy Knuckles. Hello there, and welcome back. We are now covering Knuckles the Echidna in Project 06. So, unfortunately for our poor guy, not only is he one of the least featured characters in Sonic Project 06's stages, he also has this insane moveset that Chaos gave him that we just don't use because we just kind of glide from one end of his section to the other. But I'm going to go ahead and cover his abilities in full, one, if you're curious, and two, just because what Knuckles can do is pretty stinking cool. If you're familiar with how the guy controls in Sonic Adventure 2, he controls pretty similarly here. Of course, we can glide, just like this. If we jump in the air and then press the A button, we do get a glide. Kind of like the classic Sonic games, the longer you hold the glide, the faster Knuckles moves, actually. It's not as substantial as how quickly he can move in like Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but it's still a cool little attention to detail that Chaos put in there. One more little thing, I don't know if this is a glitch or an oversight or anything, or maybe intentional, but if you quickly, or it doesn't even have to be quickly, if you just let go and then re-glide, you actually reset Knuckles' descent. So it's really, really useful in the speed run if you want to cover a large amount of distance, because when you glide, it's obviously, he doesn't drop like a rock like he does in retail Sonic 06, but it's still a little bit noticeable. But if you quickly let go and repress A, you can pretty much keep the exact same elevation that you had right when you started gliding. Again, super useful, especially in this particular section in Aquatic Base, because we can literally glide from where you start as Knuckles all the way until the switch. So that's his glide. Of course, you can climb on walls as Knuckles, up, down, left, right, every which way you want to go, and then press A to jump back off of them. There's no digging or any sort of thing, unlike Sonic Adventure 2, but, you know, you can climb on walls, you know, just in case. Maybe you're too low, can't get on a platform, boom, climb yourself all the way back up. A little thing to note that if you use mods, like I use the Project 06 extended mod a lot to put characters into sections they're not supposed to be in. There are only specific sections where Knuckles is programmed to be able to climb. This part of Aquatic Base being one of them, another part being obviously his section in Flame Core. But funnily enough as well, especially if you watched my Knuckles run in Project 06, is that in Kingdom Valley Section 2, and Tails' part of White Acropolis, you can actually climb on the walls, because those are both sections that Rouge takes, and Rouge can climb on walls as well, so they're also programmed to be climbable with Knuckles in Sonic's story, which is kind of interesting, even though you don't actually use Knuckles in that section. If you are jumping, or if you are gliding, you can do his Drill Claw attack. Pretty much functions the exact same way as it does in Sonic Adventure 2, which is really cool, a great way to descend super fast, and as you can see as I'm doing here, if I press A again while doing the Drill Claw, I can go back into the glide if I want to. Another cool thing that Chaos added is if you slam the ground doing the Drill Claw attack, if there are any enemies around you, you actually stun them, which is really, really neat. Of course, you only stun enemies in this game for a short duration, so let's get out of there so they don't start attacking me. But yeah, that's the drill claw, or I believe Chaos actually calls it the ground shaker, which is a pretty cool name. Again, I'm looking at the manual, which I'll flash on screen here to show you just kind of all the stuff. Again, this is just in Project 06's like folder, and it's really cool to see the controls and all the characters that Chaos did the graphics for. I don't actually know if he outsourced it or not, but it's still really cool regardless. So when we're on the ground with Knuckles, we of course can punch enemies, which is awesome. Obviously it does 1 point of damage, so you know, we just press X, do a punch. But of course, like Sonic Adventure 1 and like Sonic Adventure 2, you can do a 3-punch combo, which is really, really neat. Again, if you press X again, and again, X 3 times in a row, you do a ground shaker move similar to the one that Knuckles does when you press the X button in the air, but I don't actually think this stuns enemies. No, it doesn't. It just does extra damage to destroy them. So that's the Stone Breaker, is what Chaos calls it. Now, Chaos did something really cool and made it to where if you press a different button on Knuckles' third punch, you actually do a different attack. So if we press the B button on the third attack, we actually do the dash punch, which is the Sonic Adventure 1 move, if you remember what kind of Knuckles does in those cutscenes and when you play as him, which is pretty neat, does some good damage, sends Knuckles forward. And if you press the Y button on the last punch, you do an uppercut, the Crimson Uppercut, as it's called. Pretty good for enemies that are a little bit bigger or have multiple points of damage or whatever, and it's got a really cool animation. I hope that in the speedrun we can find more uses for Knuckles' abilities there. Finally, if you hold the B button, similar to the Maximum Heat Knuckles attack from Sonic Adventure 1, Knuckles does this ability called the Screwdriver. So you hold B, release, it literally has the same sound effect from Sonic Adventure 2. You can hold B, release, and go straight into a glide. Or if you really want to, you can see the reticle appears, and it's kind of like Knuckles' own version of like a homing attack. Now you can only perform it in the ground. Pressing the B button in the air does nothing, but it's kind of cool. Again, doesn't have a whole lot of uses in the speedrun, but it's still a really cool ability regardless. And that's kind of everything Knuckles can do. Again, a really fleshed out and really cool character to see with all these awesome abilities. Unfortunately, in a speedrun case, again, I am a speedrunner of this game, so, you know, I really want to mention the usefulness of some of the stuff in the speedrun. It doesn't, a lot of his abilities doesn't have a whole lot of use, especially because most of his sections we can just glide from one part to another. But that is the end of this video on Sonic's Amigos. I hope you guys really enjoyed. I actually really enjoyed making this video. If you want to see more tutorials, please let me know, because I like having a good mixture of tutorials as well as speed runs, challenge runs, just goofy stuff we do in Project 06, because I love the crap out of this game, and it's been so much fun to play for all of you, so I really hope you enjoy what I do here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.